Yeah. Okay. So hi, we're finally at progressions. We're just starting on a whole new level of understanding and comprehension with astrology. It's to me, it's the beginning of the spiritual side or the mystical side, the really incredible side of astrology. But progressions are a funny thing. They're not. We do all the calculations, but you never define exactly what a progression is. You're trying to listen to what it is. You're trying to hear what it is. You're trying to see how it's experiencing, how it's manifest. It's a different frequency, different layer than transits. So you get your natal chart, you get your transits. Those are your motor mechanics. Those are practical things. You think, you plan them, you measure them out, you see the time frame, you have those all set up. That's practical. But the progressions are, they're really an abstraction, a mystical concept, but they really measure how we're growing and how we develop in our lifetime. It's almost, how would you say it? Yeah, they measure what the soul is experiencing through a lifetime, so that there's a bunch of different ideas about it, but really what we're familiar with is, I mean, it's easy to work with progressions from ephemeris. With a computer, it's harder to get. You can get the list snap. We don't normally, and just get the chart, just comparing charts, and it takes away a lot of the seeing the phases and seeing the stages of development of things. But really, the progressions, really, what they are is every day after you're born, after you take your first breath, each day that you pass is parallel to a year of your life. So the first 90 days after you're born is a parallel for the first 90 years of your life, for 90 years of your life. So the idea, there's a few ideas behind this, how we can fathom this, but it's each day the Earth turns on its axis once completely. So there's a whole cycle. In that cycle, the whole universe comes up and goes down and goes overhead, and we get exposed to the whole universe in that 1 hour, 24 hours, I mean, in that one day. And in a year, the Earth goes around the sun, and across the year, you got all the days with it, but across the year, there's the next level, the next cycle of being exposed to the whole universe, all the stars, the whole circle of the heavens. So there's just it's kind of making a parallel between one cycle and the next cycle, between the cycle of the days to the cycle of the year. In a way, you're seeing, at this point, you begin to see some of the relationship between signs and houses. Unfortunately, it was taken so far that people say the signs are like the houses. It was taking this kind of root idea behind that, but it was taken too far, and it was taken too mentally around that. The signs are not like the houses. We had to measure nature and see nature in place before we could begin to be sensitive to or open to the what's beyond nature, what's behind it, what's transcendent to it, what's happening within it. There's all these changes going on in life. There's always change, there's always things going on. But our soul, as we go through, we gain the experience. We gain every experience of every aspect, of every transit, of everything. We're gaining those experiences, and that's just the sensation of life. But what we're absorbing and what we're trying to learn and really gain from it is measured in the progressions, in this day for each day for a year after your life. Now, so that's the first association. You get a bearings of what we're looking at. So we're going to be looking in the ephemeris. We're looking for your chart, your birthday, and the next 90 days or next 100 days. That's your lifetime. Whatever happens in that 90 days is the progression for are the progressions for your life. So we'll come to this a little bit better. You can't just think of, it's going to change how you think of the signs of the zodiac. It's going to add another element, another layer to it, a progressive layer to it. But the theory behind this is from conception to birth, generally got 9 months. and you have this 9 months gestation period, and then we take our first breath, and it's the beginning of our independent existence outside of the womb or outside of our mothers. It's 3 more months, but that's only 9 months. It's not a whole cycle. The whole cycle isn't completed till we've gone the whole 360 degrees, or gone the whole year. So 9 months isn't the 12. There's 3 months missing in there, and the 3 months represent the 3 months, the 3 cycles of our life, the 90 years of our life. But it's kind of, the 3 months are kind of like, destroy this body, I'll create it, so I'll experience it 3 more days. But days and cycles and years were often used in mystical terms for similar things, often the same words for them. But this process of 90 days completes until you get back to the starting point where you were first, from conception to birth, 9 months and 90 more days, if you live that long, to complete a fulfilled life. Okay, so this is the theory behind it. Now, there's different puzzles around this. So some people were born premature or born early, and they will never live to get the complete cycle. They still have their life, the soul will still gain their experiences, there'll still be the progressions, all these things are there, but it's not hitting the ideal standard of the 9 months, having the 9 months, and then going to the getting to the 12 months, getting the whole full cycle. So we have a day for a year. We're from conception to birth, we have 9 months. And then there's 3 more months before we completed the cycle. We've experienced the whole cycle of those already. That's the best. Before our soul, which isn't just attached to the body, is going through the gestation, it's observing all these processes. And then the next 90 years, or 90 days in the progressions completes the first cycle of the zodiac. So anything that happens in the 90 days after you're born is going to have an inner effect, an effect in some year of your life, in the corresponding year of your life. So you couldn't, if you have a kid, you couldn't time things accurately enough. Whether there's a fever for a day or two, whoa, that's going to have an effect on a year or two of a life. If someone falls off the bed or smashes their head or something, whoa, there's going to be something that happens at that corresponding time in one's life. So there's a certain, in a way, if you're thinking about it, it's kind of ominousness about the progressions, because they last longer, they have long effects, and it seems a little bit more fated. It's still a natural cycle, but it's almost like your soul comes into life, it gets attached to the seed and to the germ, has to nurture and grow and build up and prepare. Then it's born and take a breath, and then the individuality is born. The individual life comes in, then you get the 90 days, the 90 years before you complete the whole cycle. And the soul gains that experience. So that part of the idea, one of the ideas to go with this is that if you just come into life and you go through your transits, you go through things, you have your life, you go through it, and you die. When you die, you get beyond time. You get beyond time, all of a sudden you can come back. Who's to say you couldn't come back to the same chart and just keep doing a rerun or a reloop or reloop or reloop and be stuck on a pattern for eternity? That's a really fatalistic concept. But what the progressions do, these slow evolutions, they develop, and they're how the soul grows through the life and is gaining experience through the life, and it's gaining things is so exactly that you'll never come back to the same place, because you've gone through that experience. You'll go on, you'll evolve to other ones. So it's what you're struggling to evolve with, but it's not your mind, it's not your ego. That's in the transits. There is a spiritual mind, a spiritual ego. There's all those. This is just another frequency with the progressions. So there's always there's a wonder behind progressions. There's a puzzle. How's this going to happen? What's happening? What's this going to, how's this showing? And you're always questioning, as soon as you think, oh, I know what it is, it's this. It's more than that. It changes. So the interpretation for progressions is different in the transit. The mechanics, the technical things of calculating are different, but it's still planets and signs, planets and houses, planet aspects. The same things will happen. The phenomenon is the same of the solar system moving around and how we're experiencing it. It's just happening at a slower rate. Like when we're taking one day as a year, that means 2 months of time, 2 hours of time in the day. The first day of your life, 2 hours represents a month. And 4 minutes represents a day. 4 minutes of time from after you're born, each 4 minutes represents a day of your life. I don't like to say, okay, in real time, in natural time. We'll say progressed time and natural time because they're two different time systems. So we're switching from one time frame to another time frame and relating it to a common thread of the age and the times we're going through our life, to our calendar. The mess up is the calendar, because the calendar it's loosely attached to the zodiac, where the zodiac used to be the original calendar, and these things were more clearly seen. They didn't have to be translated or calculated in a more complicated way. So when you see where you've come up till now, you've got your natal chart, you've learned all the planets at level 1, you learned each layer, each planet, you fell into the ocean of meaning. All of a sudden, all these layers, all these things have meaning. How can we possibly hold this all together? It's so incredible. That's level 1. You get the basic foundations of astrology, understanding the signs, the phases of the signs and the meanings and layers, and the same with the houses for the times of the day, and then the layers of consciousness of the planets and how they work, and then the aspects of how they relate to each other. Then we spent the next 4 levels doing planets and signs, planets and houses, planets and aspects, signs on the house cusp, and then interpreting the natal chart. And we went through it to do how this works. We're seeing this energy. Here's the energy. Here's what it's saying. Here's how it worked in my life. Here's how we saw it in our life. So we really worked the planets and the signs. We really worked them. And each time we learned the planets a little bit. The first level, we learned about the planets and signs and houses, but really we get a sense of the planets. The second level, planets and signs, we really learn about how the planets are affected by the attitude of the sign, and really get another focus on it, another insight into the planets. It expands our awareness of them. Then we see the planets and the houses and the energy going into the houses. It expands our awareness. We see another layer of how the planets work. Then we look at the aspects, see how they relate to each other. We see another layer of how these energies come together. And then we put it together in a natal chart and see how the package comes together for an individual. We have the DNA, or the genetic map of a person, your horoscope of the being that you are. It's not whether you're male or female. It's about the individuality that you are. Like, I believe we're born, the moment we're born, we are the answer to the need of the universe at that moment in time and space. We're it, whatever that means. So how do we come and live up to who we are? Every day we get further away from from our natal chart. Every day we've gone further away from pure potentials that we are at the moment we're born. And it gets crystallized, and then by the time we're going up, by the time we get to about 7, we've probably been, by the time we learn the language, going to school, we've been conditioned, we've probably cut off 90% of our potentials, and we're working with GST rates on our life. Just simple little a percentage of our potentials. And if we get half of that, boy, we would be geniuses in today's world. So it's a huge amount of untapped potential of how well we can live and how much we can do if we were ready for it. So this spectrum, this challenges some of the puzzles of astrology.